Hello, everyone. This is Sinema77, horror cult film lover. I'm back with another movie review. Before I get started with this movie review, I want to take a second to say if you're the kind of person who is extremely religious, you probably better go ahead and get off this video now. You're probably not going to like this very much. Also, I'm going to say when I do this movie review, we're going to be talking about some pretty taboo subjects. So if you're the kind of person who is very easily offended and very sensitive, you probably better go ahead and turn this video off now because you're not going to like this very much either. So, in just 1 second, we'll get started with the review. Okay, now the movie we're going to be talking about is a film from 1982, and it's called Black Candles. Now, this copy I have obviously is on a Grindhouse double feature with the movie Evil Eye, and I know that there is a code red. I think it's limited edition. You know, you'd have to get on their website to check, but they did release this in a DVD and a Blu-ray release. But this is the copy that I have. It's the Grindhouse release of it, and the movie is directed by Jose Ramon Larraz, who directed such films as Vampires. I know they call it vampires. I just keep calling it vampires. But yeah, I've already reviewed this movie on my channel. If you look up on my channel, you should be able to find it still. And yeah, just if you like really kinky vampires getting, female vampires getting down and naughty, then yeah, you probably like this. So check this one out. But anyway, though, the movie that we're going to be talking about, like I said, is Black Candles. So here we go. And this kind of tells you, what you're going to be in for with this movie. Sex and the devil, a wicked combination. Okay. Now, see, here's the thing. Even though this movie came out in 1982, during the late 60s and going through the 70s, what ended up happening was in 1968 there was a big successful movie, Rosemary's Baby. You're a horror fan, you already know this. But so movies about the occult and witchcraft started to become somewhat popular, but it really kicked off in 1973 with the release of The Exorcist. The Exorcist, both of these movies came out and they both proved to be such big theatrical hits that what ended up happening, they started making a slew of, satanic occult films going throughout the 1970s. You have movies like The Devil's Reign, Touch of Satan, so many other films. And, this was one of the ones, but this came out. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, this came out in 1982. So this was a little bit later on, but still. Now, the movie basically, it's a very simple story. We start off, the movie begins with, I'm sorry, I'm getting to it, I promise. All right. Now, the movie opens with this woman who's wandering in a field, and this man is waiting for her, and then they end up having sex, as you can see here, and they're getting ready to have sex again. But unbeknownst to them, an unseen figure is taking a voodoo doll of the man and sticking a pin through its heart. And then the man, he pretty much, he dies. So we're introduced to our main characters. The main character is Carol, and she's with a man named Robert. Now, that it's never really described in the movie who Robert is. Is he her boyfriend? Is he her husband? Is he just, a guy she's with? It's never really explained. But they're going to London because, she wants to find out what exactly happened to her brother. And, she meets her sister-in-law, Fiona. And Fiona is taking her to the house, and they find out that the house, there's no electricity, and so she's lighting all these black candles. And she offers them this tea to drink, which has these kind of like herbs, which she thinks is kind of strange, and but she's just kind of like, oh well, this Fiona, she's kind of quirky and stuff, but she wants to. That's really the main thing she wants to find out is what happened to her brother. That's her main concern right now. Well, anyway, so Carol and Robert, they decide that they're going to turn in for the night, and um, Robert starts to kiss her and make out with her, and She at first she's not into it, but then they get into it and they start having sex. And I'm going to let you know right off the bat, this movie has a lot of sex. There is a lot of very simulated softcore sex. Some of it may even be real sex. I honestly don't know. It's possible, but they're having sex in their bedroom, and but what they don't know is that there's actually a scene where Fiona, while she's watching the two of them engage in sex, Fiona is masturbating, watching them. So she's looking at them through a peephole in the wall, pretty much like Norman Bates style, and she's getting herself off to watching these two have sex. So they're done. It's a lengthy scene, but it's soft core. It's meant to be titillating and erotic and naughty and things like that. So but anyway, they go to sleep that night, and then Carol, she has this dream where she's wandering around, and you see her here with the lingerie, and she's just walking through, and she's dreaming about her brother, and she's dreaming about Fiona, and she's dreaming about these other people that she's never seen before, these people she's never met before. And so what ends up happening also too is she ends up fantasizing about having sex with her brother. Now this guy here, that's supposed to be her brother, and she's fantasizing about having sex with him. So right away, there's masturbation, there's incest. So, and it's going to go on from here. So, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. Now, the next day, well, Carol, she wakes up and she realizes, she's awake, goes downstairs, and she runs into this man who's kind of like a preacher. And let me see if I can find his pic. Yeah, here he is. Hang on, real quick. Okay, it's this man here with the beard, and he's kind of like a satanic preacher, and he's pretty much he's introduced pretty much as the uncle of Fiona. Well, the next day, Carol, she's out, talking with Fiona. They take her to a cemetery that's by the house, and she sees her brother's grave and everything else. But the thing that Carol seems to be completely oblivious about is that there is a whole group, basically like a satanic cult, that's living in this house, and they're doing all kinds of you know rituals and things like that. As a matter of fact, here's one picture here where we see basically two women engaging in sexual activity. But what ends up the reason for this though is this girl here, right? This one there. She's getting ready to basically she's going to be impregnated by a goat. You heard what I said. And the other woman there is getting her prepared, getting her ready, getting her wet so that she would be so it'd be easier for her to have sex with the goat because they want to basically impregnate her with the sperm of the goat, and this thus will give birth to the Antichrist. So anyway, so you got that going on, and then hang on just one second. And here we are. Here's a shot of the woman with the goat. So there you go. So that's another thing we add into this movie. You have bestiality. So meanwhile, basically, Carol decides she's going to go into the city and she's going to try to find out what she can about her brother's death and talk to because her brother was a lawyer, so she wants to go and find out what had happened to him, and ultimately, at the same time, pretty much, just go ahead and hold this up for you right here. But anyway, though, at the same time, pretty much, Robert is being seduced by Fiona, and he's telling her about how he had worked, he had graduated from, the seminary, and at one point he was going to be a priest, but he decided not to. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. And he decided that he's going to, he just decided that, he didn't believe in God and things like that. And she lets him know that, they're basically devil worshippers, and she seduces him, and they have a lot of sex and, a lot of kinky, wild sex and things like that. So, yes, there is a lot of nudity in this movie, and I'm going to be honest with you, though, this is a this is a horror film from 1982. So, if you're the kind of guy who's or woman, if you're the kind of person who's really turned off by the idea of a woman having hair down there between her legs, if you're offended by that sort of thing, you really need to stay clear of this movie. If you're not bothered by that kind of thing, then hey, you probably might like this. But so anyway, so she seduces him, and he pretty much easily he switches over to the basically the devil worshipping side. And then at one point, Carol comes home, and they start to engage in sex, which she's getting into it until he flips her over, and it's like it's not really determined. I believe the idea is that he sodomizes her. He performs anal sex on her, which she doesn't want, but he does it to her anyway. It's either that or else he just wanted to get her while she's on her stomach. One of those two things. So, but anyway, they engage in this kind of rough sex, and she's starting to put together that Robert's not the same guy that he used to be, and he used to wear a crucifix around his neck, and so she asks him about it, and you know, and he tells her that, oh well, I must have lost it somewhere, and she's like, wow, you used to be really really strict about that sort of thing, and so he's kind of giving her hell, oh my God, you could be such a drag sometime, and all this other kind of stuff. And so she's just kind of like, damn, what's gotten into you and stuff. And, later that night, she does witness him going through this ritual where he's with Fiona, he's with the evil priest, and he does renounce his Christianity, and he becomes one of the devil coven. And, so, and she sees this wild orgy going on and so on. And at one point also too, there's a scene where one of the guys who's basically he's kind of like a groundskeeper or whatever. He's kind of like always around the house taking care of things. Well, his wife is one of the servants in the house, and so he goes in and she's telling him, this bitch is in heat, and so she wants him to have sex with her. And at first he refuses. And then she's calling to the stable boy. His name is Peter. She says, Peter, Peter, come make love to me and all this. And so he gets on his wife and he has sex with her, but it's over pretty quick. So she calls for Peter. She's still unsatisfied. So this guy, Peter, he comes in and he starts having sex with her. And, at one point, the husband even looks at her and, having sex with this guy. And he's all like, give it to that bitch good, so. And so now, Carol here, she really realizes that things are really getting bad. She's introduced to this, satanic coven. And it very much seems to have almost like a Rosemary's Baby kind of a vibe to it. And, but it takes her a little bit to piece things together. That is kind of the annoying thing in this movie is that, Carol, she's very, very slow. I mean, it's like she sees, Robert engaging in this, satanic ritual, but, she's very slow to act upon it. And so, at one point she finally decides that she does want to get out of this, that she realizes these people are up to dastardly deeds and things like that. And so she's about ready to sneak out of the house. Well, she ends up being caught by the housekeeper or the groundskeeper. And he tells her that, you need to get out of here and that these people are Satan worshipers. They're into some really bad shit. If they know what I was telling you, I could be killed. We both could be killed. And so he ends up getting caught, and the Satanic Coven, Robert's included now. So he ends up basically, to be honest, they take a sword and they shove it up his butt. So he gets impaled with a sword and he's killed. Now, Carol, she sees this go on. Basically, she almost stands and watches the entire thing. So she's out running in the dark trying to get away, but it's kind of really annoying how she does it because she's like running a few feet, stops, turns, looks around everywhere. It's like, looks behind her, looks around, looks side to side, and maybe runs a few more feet, and then she does it again and keeps doing it until she gets caught by the Satanic Coven. So they end up taking her, down to the basement where they're going to, basically this cult really just wants to release the devil so they can engage in orgies more than anything else. And it turns out that the priest, what he is going to do, that it's revealed that Carol is basically the bride of Satan, and that the priest is going to fornicate with her, and by doing so, he's going to inject Satan into her, and thus she will be the bride of Satan, and then this cult will be, pretty much ready to rule the earth and things like that. And so he's on top of her, and Robert's holding her down, and Fiona's holding her down, and while the this ritual is going on, she's calling out, saying that she's burning down there, and they're saying it's okay because he's putting the devil inside you, and once the devil is inside you, then it'll be okay. The pain will be over soon. Then you'll experience all this pleasure and so on. And meanwhile, there's this pretty much an orgy going on. There's men and women. There's Robert and Fiona having sex. There's girl on girl. There's all kinds of things going on here. And then, funny enough, we find out the whole thing was a dream, right? Carol wakes up. She's in the car. Fiona is driving the car. Turns out the whole thing was a dream. Robert is in the car with her. And then they're driving to the house. And they said, wow, you were out for a while and you had this really bad dream and stuff like that. And so, yeah, you were pretty much passed out for a while there. So they get to the house, and it's starting to look vaguely familiar because there's no lights, and then they start lighting they got the black candles, they start lighting them, and then Carol, she turns around and she sees the evil minister, and he's standing there. Fiona introduces him as her uncle, and then you kind of realize that, well, was it a dream, or was basically the whole thing kind of foretelling what was going, events that were going to happen. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. So anyway, though, yeah, we described this movie. This movie is it's very sexually explicit. It's one could complain and argue that it is pretty much borderline pornography. If you are into, that's the thing, if for a mature audience, if you were into movies of the occult and the satanic and things like that, you could enjoy this movie for what it is. Honestly, I think it's fun. I think it's just a fun, raunchy, occult film. Yeah, I had fun with it. It doesn't bother me much. But yeah, if you're the kind of person who's very strictly religious, you're gonna hate this movie. If you're the kind of person who you're really very easily offended or very overly sensitive, you're gonna hate this movie. If you're the kind of person who does not like, be it man or woman, if you're the kind of person who does not like movies with explicit sex scenes, you're not gonna like this movie. So this movie, it's for some people, they're probably like, this movie is offensive. It's meant to be, but yeah, I mean, it fits in with the occult films from the '70s. These movies, they all kind of went along the same way. Where, I mean, go watch movies like The Touch of Satan or The Devil's Reign or Evil Speak or any of these kind of movies. You find out a lot of them always kind of played the same way. They had, like, a lot of these movies had downer endings. Race with the Devil, that's another one. A lot of these movies had downer endings. They had this very uncomfortable vibe to them. Um, it is a very particular subgenre of films. I mean, you watch movies like The Omen or The Exorcist. These movies fall into that category too. So, Mark of the Devil, things like that. So, Wicker Man. So, but yeah, if you don't mind this subgenre of films, you're going to be okay. But like I said, if you're offended by explicit sexuality, you're not going to like this. If you're extremely religious and very sensitive, you're not going to like this. So steer clear of it. But ultimately, I enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's some good raunchy entertainment. I do like the. That's the thing. Sometimes I tend to like really mean spirited films and kind of really downer type films. Sometimes I really enjoy that. And yeah, this movie, I enjoy it. I like it. So if you're into this kind of thing, and you kind of feel like in a morally bankrupt mood, then I say, yeah, give Black Candles, give Black Candles a chance. So yeah. Anyway, though, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. So, yeah, so we talked about black candles. So if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you weren't too offended. Talking about a movie that's pretty much got just about every taboo you could want in it. You got incest, you got bestiality, you got girl on girl, you got satanic rituals, all this other kind of stuff. So. But anyway, though, hopefully, like I said, hopefully you did enjoy the review, and I hope you'll come back. I have many other movies to review. I just did shelf by shelves and do haul videos and got other things that I want to try to do. So yeah, please come back. Hopefully, I'll have some good, entertaining videos for everybody. So until then, this is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, wishing you a good night. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.